June Edwards, Massachusetts medium. Thank you for purchasing my video. This video is all about whether or not you found the right one. Big question out there. Is he the one? Is she the one? Well, there's a lot of questions that you can ask, that you should be asking to determine whether or not you think you found the right partner for a relationship. And the first thing is, how long have you known this person for? I personally believe it takes about a year to get to know someone. I talk to too many people that move in with someone very quickly, 2 to 3 months, and then 6 months down the road they find out that this person has a very violent style when they communicate or when they get into an argument, or they had a completely different belief about money. So there's a lot of things that you should be asking to determine whether or not this is the right one for you. One of the questions I always ask is, where did you meet this person? Odds are, if you met this person in a bar and you were drunk, there's a good chance that, you know what, they may have a drinking problem. It's the reality. Too many people will tell me that, well, yeah, we met in a bar. When he asked me to move in, yeah, we had been out drinking. And then, yes, when he asked me to marry him, he was drunk. And when we moved the date up, yes, he had been drinking. Well, there's a theme here. Pay attention to those types of themes, okay, because they do mean something. One of the other important things you want to ask is whether or not you share the same belief systems. So a lot of people meet, and obviously you have chemistry first, you have an attraction, and that's what sparks the interest to get into a relationship. And then you start going along and you realize that, this person has a completely different religion than I do, or this person has a completely different political view than I do. Is that something that you can live with? Is that something that's going to cause problems down the road? What about when you have children? Are you going to raise them in one belief system, in both belief systems, in no belief system? These are the questions that you want to ask when you're in a relationship. It's possible to get beyond barriers like that, but if you don't communicate well in your relationship, then you're not going to know what the problems are, and you're not going to know how to solve them when they arise. So, have you asked, what is your belief system? Who did you vote for? These are important questions. What about children? A lot of people get into a relationship and they think, oh, he said he doesn't want to have kids, but I know after I marry him, he'll have kids. When someone tells you that for an answer, the odds are really good that that's not going to change. So make sure that if you want children, that you're in a relationship with someone else that wants children. What about someone that already has children? Have you met their children? Do you get along good with their children? Because children can cause a lot of breakups. And one of the biggest reasons for divorce in a second marriage would be the children of the previous marriage. They cause a lot of problems. So again, you want to make sure that you fit into that and that you communicate what's the discipline style. Are you expected to discipline their children, or are they going to be disciplining their children? Are you going to be expected to co-parent with them, or are you expected to be out of the picture completely and act like you don't exist? These are really important things, and they do come up. What about, are you able to talk about anything? Something happened at work, someone was hitting on you. Are you comfortable enough to go home and discuss that with your partner? Or would they go into a jealous rage and fly off the handle? All of these things are things that you need to find out about before you decide whether or not this is the person that you want to be in a permanent, committed relationship with. Some people are very, very jealous. Some people want to control you. Do you have freedom in this relationship? Are you able to go outside of the relationship with your friends, spend time with your friends? What about alone time? Do you get any alone time? Because the reality of it is, you can't miss someone if you're with them all the time, can you? So it's important for your own growth and to maintain friendships that you have alone time and that you have time with your own friends. What happens with that other person when you do that? Are they okay with it? Do they go out and have time with their own friends? Do they have friends? Have you met their friends? What are their friends like? A lot of times it's a really good indicator of what the person is like depending on who their friends are and who they hang around with, just like children. okay? You kind of become who it is that you're hanging around with and who you're spending time with. Have you met each other's families? This is really important. Whether or not you have relationships with their family and they have a relationship with your family, have you met them? Or do they keep telling you, oh, I don't want you to meet them yet, or they're not ready to meet you, or you're not ready to meet them? That's a problem. How do you feel when you're with this other person? Do you have butterflies in your stomach? Do you feel like there's really good chemistry? You just kind of fit together well, like, you know, two well-worn shoes? That's a really important thing. If you're not comfortable together, then the odds are probably good that you are not going to be a good fit in a long-term relationship. You will always have a little bit of friction because no two people are exactly the same, but you should feel really comfortable with that other person. You should feel like you should be able to tell them anything, ask them anything, and you should be able to trust them. And here we come to the number one thing in any relationship. It gets down to trust. Do you trust that other person? Do you believe what they tell you? Or are you constantly wondering if they're telling you one thing and doing something else behind your back? Are you constantly checking their cell phone? Are you always trying to look at their Facebook pages or their online emails and things like that? If you're doing that, then you do not trust this person, and there's probably a reason for it. Did you catch them doing something that violated your trust? Then you really need to relook at this relationship and determine whether or not you want to waste any more time on it. Because if you cannot trust someone, I can tell you right now, the relationship will never last. No one wants to be with someone always having to question where they've been, what they've been doing, where they've been going, always watching them, and not having any freedom. No one wants to be controlled in a relationship. And when you don't trust someone, it ends up getting into some form of control so that you can stay satisfied and you know that you have your finger or your thumb on whatever is going on. So that's huge. Do you trust them? Deep down in your gut, you will know whether or not this is the person for you. You'll always know. And that's what you should always go with, is what your intuition is. Your intuition will tell you, this is definitely the person that I want to spend the rest of my life with, or no, this is not the person that I want to spend the rest of my life with. And from there, you can determine whether or not you want to have a committed relationship with them, or you want to move on and find someone else that might be a little bit more compatible for you. Are you sexually compatible? Do you like the same sexual styles? Are you okay with the frequency, with where it happens, when it happens, with the language and the communication that's involved with it? This is really important, because if you're not compatible on that level, then they're not going to be the person for you that you want to spend the rest of your life with. It's really important, because it may start out really, really good, and then you find out 6 months into it that you're with an asexual person that really does not like to have sex, and you're going to do what? Spend the rest of your life celibate? Or you're going to end up going outside the relationship and looking for something, because it's a need. So in a relationship, when you get into a relationship, you're looking to see that all the needs that you have that are required in a relationship are going to be met. Just like we need food to eat, you need certain things in a relationship for it to be able to work properly. You need to communicate. You need to have a comfort level. You need to have money, food, sex, shelter, all of these things you need in a relationship. And it's important that you discuss all these things. Where will you live? Will you get an apartment together? Is that something that both of you see happening? Or buy a house together? Will you get married? Will you not get married? Sometimes people just want to cohabitate forever and they never want to really commit to the relationship. Is that something that you're comfortable with? Or do you need the security of knowing that down the road this is going to turn into something that is more secure for you and a completely, fully committed relationship? Of course, there's no guarantees of anything in this world, but these are the questions that you want to ask yourself to determine whether or not you've met the right person. This is what it's all about, and this is very important. So a lot of times men feel they have to play a certain role, women feel they have to play a certain role. Are you okay with that? Or do you feel that you have to be absolute equals in a relationship? One of you may feel that that's not going to work for them. Or they might be quite happy with that situation. It takes time to get to know someone. There's no reason that you have to rush into it. Some relationships take longer than others to determine whether or not that's the right person. But at some point in time, you kind of need to make that decision so that the relationship can move forward and you can go on and have a life together, not separate. That's what relationships are all about. Also, what role do you see each other taking once you're in a committed relationship? Does one of you want to take care of cooking the meals, grocery shopping, laundry? Does the other one want to take care of the outside of where you live, maybe cutting the grass, trimming the hedges, cleaning the house? There's a lot of things that you have to take into consideration when you're getting into a relationship and you want to know, is this the person that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with? Maybe you've met a girl that has the idea that she should never lift a finger. You should have domestic help take care of everything for her. I think you should know that, don't you, before you determine whether or not this is the one. And the guy may have the same type of mindset. He may think that there's absolutely no way I'm ever going to pick up a screwdriver or mow the lawn or do anything that has to do anything like that. We'll hire people. Well, that's all fine and dandy, but if you're going to do that, then you also have to make sure that you have the financial means to be able to support that type of lifestyle. So lifestyle is always very important when you're discussing and talking with someone and trying to determine whether or not they are the one. And last but not least, are they the person that you can see yourself growing old with? Look 50 years ahead. Can you see yourself growing old with that person? Do you think that person will stick by your side? Would that person take care of you if you weren't able to work any longer, weren't able to offer them what they are looking for now at this point in the relationship? Everybody forgets about that, but we're all getting older. We're not getting younger. And at some point, it's like Rip Van Winkle. You wake up one day and it's like, where did those 50 years go? So it's another important consideration to think about when you're asking yourself, is this the one? Am I in the right relationship? Okay, thank you.